If you guys are wondering why the music's getting all crazy today, why I am so excited. There is a myriad of things going on in the world right now. I can't believe Alfie Fisher says she's watched every episode of this show, which I don't know how you have the time with all that's going on. I know we're in a pandemic. We're in a pandemic slash fight for civil rights. And I don't know who had that on their 2020 bingo card, but I did not. If you guessed that Terry Crews and Kanye West would still be making the news today, you also won bingo, and I don't know how you haven't used your prescient powers to help save humanity. We are talking today on Thursday, November of the 16th of what the fuck is going on in the world. I believe I'm doing every broadcast that you have ever seen in the end of those disaster movies that you hear so much, where there's a crazy wild guy who's like, oh, it's the end of the world, you guys, and it looks like we're doing another one, trying our best to figure out what's going down. It's one of those sort of scenarios. And actually, you know what? There's gonna be a video break right now because I'm gonna go to my blurred group. For those who don't know, I have a blurred group. It's a bunch of black nerds. They're really smart people, really black people. But I don't even think they know I'm doing this show right now. So if my viewers will give me 30 seconds, when I cut this later, and believe me, I won't be cutting this later, I'll be taking all of that part out of it. So give me just 1 second. Going live with Ahmed. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you. Let's see if this works. We're chilling in the game, know how we do. Got my man right here, and he does kung fu. Oh my gosh, we did it! Jesus. I think we went past the 1 hour time limit, which I didn't know was a thing. Is that a thing?
Yeah, the 1 hour's on live. I think my Wu-Tang story got a little too long.
They was ready. Well, look, Wu-Tang's a saga. You got to tell it in 2 parts.
I know there's so many cats in the Wu-Tang clan.
Okay, what's the second part of this saga? Tell me.
Okay, so black martial arts, Bruce Lee, kung fu, stomp. So the whole percussionist who move thing. Martial arts was how I moved. And, I did a lot of martial arts in my life. I did Bruce Lee's martial arts, JKD. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a black belt in that. Karate, black belt in that. I'm studying Wing Chun Kung Fu. But I was big into the Shaolin stuff. I loved all the 5 animal stuff. I loved Wushu, monkey style, like all of those things. Drunken style. Huge Jackie Chan fan. So I brought all of that to Stomp, as well as the drumming. So Stomp was kind of this thing where I saw it, and it was at the time of like alt theater downtown, right?
I remember there's like De La Guarda and
Yes.
all this other.
All of us. It was De La Guarda, Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk started at the Public, Blue Man Group, and Stomp, and then Rent, which started downtown, and then they went to Broadway, right? So all of us were just like in this whole downtown alt theater 90s kind of utopia in the Village, right, in New York. And then I went on tour. And when I went on tour with Stomp, like we went all over the country. And then I landed in San Francisco. And I talk about this in the one man, in the one man show that I'm writing. It was in San Francisco where the character Star Wars was in the audience, and she asked me to audition for Star Wars after she saw my Stomp show. But the thing about the Stomp show was, like, on the tour, I was the lead of the show. But that day, that Robin Gerland, who casted Star Wars, that day that Robin came to the show, I wasn't playing my usual role. A guy in our cast had gotten like violently ill, and he had to be sent home. So the New York office sent somebody from New York to cover for him. But when the cover came there, he had seniority over me, and he had like people in San Fran. So he was like, "Yeah, Ahmed, I'm gonna lead the show tonight. You're gonna play this other role called Potato Head, which was a heavily drumming role, right? And this other cat wasn't as good a drummer as me. So he was just like, I'm gonna be the lead, you're gonna play the drums." And I was like, "Nah, man. Like, if you're in theater and you have a cast, right? You all speak the same language. You all know each other's, idiosyncrasies. You know when you go up. You know when to cover. You really
You know when someone's fucking up and you got to fill in for them, all that.
right, exactly. You know you have a rhythm as a cast. And by the time we got to San Fran, we were firing on all cylinders. We were doing some of our best shows. So this cat comes in, and rather than slot in a spot where we can continue that, because I was running the show, he decided to take over my cast. And now I'm a 22-year-old, very arrogant, super talented New York asshole
From the Bronx.
from the fucking South Bronx. So I was like, I am going to make sure that nobody in this audience knows you're alive. I'm going to destroy you on stage.
I love it.
I'm going to take you out, right?
Yes.
So on stage, we have these like hands and feet. We do a thing called hands and feet, which is kind of like stepping, like step show stepping, right? And so each of us have 4-bar solos. And, before the show, we look at everybody's 4-bar solo so you know when to come in, right? Especially the lead guy has to know everybody's 4-bar solo. So he was like, Ahmed, you have a 4-bar. And I hadn't had a 4-bar solo for like 8 months. I hadn't done this role in like 8 months, right? So I did not want to make up a 4-bar solo. And he was like, Ahmed, do you have a 4-bar solo? Can I see it? And I was like, no. Nope. And he was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, we'll find out on the day. Like, as soon as the lights go up, you call me out. There's going to be a solo there. And he was like,
Yes.
You don't know? You're not going to? And I was like, nope. I don't know what it is. Right? So that was like my first asshole move. And then, the role that I had to cover for set all the tempos. So I was like, I am going to set tempos that you cannot possibly keep up with. Right? That was number 2.
This is a 3-part process to fucking them up.
4. There's this number in Stomp called suspension, right? Where we're hanging 40 feet off the ground and we're swinging, right? And then there's found object percussion on the grid on the wall, and we're like, it's like mountain climbing, like swinging, and we're playing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you guys would swing back and forth and then hit some shit over here, swing over here, hit some shit over here.
Exactly. I decided to play all the parts. So he was on one side playing one part, and I'm supposed to be on the other side playing another part, and it's supposed to come together, right? I set the tempo. I set this tempo that was so fast, there was no way he could keep up. And mind you, my cast, right? So all I had to do was give a look, and they knew what was coming. He had no idea what was happening. No. So I was just like, here we go. And they were just like, Ahmed is on one today, right? And I'm just blazing, like sticks flying everywhere. I'm just like throwing shit, right? Making him look like an asshole, right? Boom, number 3. End of the show comes, right? After the show is over, we do an encore bit, right? An encore, we all come out, play our instruments, and the lead comes up to the front of the stage and he's like, clap, clap. Audience call response, call and response, call and response. He walks up to the front of the stage. I'm playing a trash can. I walk up the more I think about it, the more I realize how much of an asshole I was.
I love it. That's why I love it.
It's just, I was such a dick. So he walks up to the front of stage. I walk up to the front of stage, right? I'm not supposed to be, I'm like loud and shit. I'm up the front of the stage, right? And I'm playing. He's trying to get everybody's attention, like, clap, clap, clap. And I'm like, nope, not today. Everybody's going to be watching me, right? It's like, clap, clap. I start pointing at people.
You're throwing out candy.
Everybody, I'm like grooming with everybody. I'm like, you over there, right? There was like this cluster of girls, and I was just like, oh yeah, what's up, girl? I'm playing. And then to top this shit all off, I take my shirt off.
Yes.
And I throw it into the crowd. yeah.
You got a pretty ass chest too.
So I'm like, yeah, flexing for these chicks. I'm like, yeah, and then we walk off the stage, and I go backstage, and I'm mad, right? I'm pissed. I'm like, fuck this, I'm throwing shit, angry, and then like it all kind of sinks in how much of a jerk I was being, and I start feeling bad, right? And I'm just like, get to my dressing room, and another castmate, RJ Sampson, walks in the dressing room, and I'm like, I'm 100 New York. I'm like, RJ, man, don't talk shit to me, man. I don't want to say nothing. I know it was a fucked up show. Don't even talk to me, man. I'm not even in the mood for speaking. I don't even know what English is. Don't talk to me, son. Right? I get like 100 New York. And he goes, no, I had somebody in the audience tonight, and she's the casting director for Star Wars. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I invited her tonight. And then I was like, oh, shit. Now, Stomp, the year before, did a private show for Lucasfilm. And George liked RJ. And RJ auditioned for Jar Jar before me. And RJ kept in touch with the casting director and invited the casting director to that show. My act like an asshole because I'm pissed off in 22, not leading the show, be a jerk, take my shirt off, point at the girls in the crowd show. I thought that RJ was still in the running for the movie. And immediately I was like, I fucked up my boy's shot. I really fucked up my boy's shot. And I felt terrible. I was like, oh my God, RJ, I am so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry, man. I had no idea. I was like on the verge of tears. Like, I felt terrible. Right? And I was like, I don't know what to do, man. How can I make this better? And he was like, she wants to talk to you. And I was like, what? She really liked your show and she wants you to come to Skywalker tomorrow. And I was like, word? He was like, she's going to call you tonight. And I was like, really? Like, it's not going to get weird or nothing. Like, nothing's going to, like, it's not, is it about to go down? Is it about to pop off? Like, maybe there should be some rules and shit. He was like, nah, go back to the crib. She's going to call you, right? And I was like, why? And would anybody want to call me after that show? That show was so terrible, right? So, I walked back up to the crib in San Francisco, like up the hill, vertically to San Francisco, and I'm chilling in the apartment. My phone rings. It's like, hi, this is Robin. Can you get a car? I'd like you to come up to Skywalker Ranch. And I was like, what are these words you're saying? Like, this doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Right? So she was like, I'm going to send you a map of how to get up here, and I want you to audition for me. So I was like, all right. So, we at Stomp always rented a car. So I got the Stomp car, and I drove up to Skywalker. And Skywalker was like a half hour away from downtown San Fran. And I don't know if anybody who's ever been to Skywalker knows that to get there, you have to drive these.
Like yeah, of course. Whenever you go there, you got to take the thing or whatever.
Take the thing, and the roads are like that.
Yeah. You meet the guy, you say hello, Arnold's there. Yeah, I know. Other people don't know, but
I'm saying like an inner circle knows when you get to Skywalker. This is what
yeah.
So I drive to Skywalker. There's another, much later, I have another funny story about driving to Skywalker and trying to follow George Lucas, who can drive. Like, George Lucas was going to be a race car driver.
Fuck out of here.
And then he got into a bad accident and he became a director, right? He can drive. Like, nobody knows this about George. That dude can drive like a freaking NASCAR driver. He's incredible. He's amazing. Okay. You know, like how Prince plays basketball in the Chappelle shit? That's how George Lucas drives. For real. Okay. Like, that dude could drive. I was in a Mustang No slouch behind the wheel. This motherfucker was driving a 7 Series BMW like a freaking race car. I
How
was
fast
like,
were you guys going?
I couldn't keep up, bro. Like he was like 90, 100. I was like, blah. And I was like, what are you doing, bro?
By the way, that is amazing. You're going 90 to 100 miles an hour in a Mustang, chasing George Lucas on Skywalker Ranch.
I could not keep up with him. That dude
Beautiful.
is incredible. He's an amazing driver.
So it's your first time you're driving through the thing.
I'm driving the Skywalker. I get to the front gate, right? And it's fucking weird. It's like there's a panel and it says, you know, some dude comes on, hello, Mr. Best, welcome. You just come drive up to there's a little kind of like house before you get into the ranch, right? So the door opens by itself, right? You drive up to the little front, like, greeting gate. And, you know, Skywalker Ranch has its own fire brigade. So they have, like, fire engines and firemen and fire outfits. And all of the firemen wear shirts that have X-Wing fighters on them, right? So I drive up to the gate, and I see the fire truck and the firehouse and a fireman with the X-Wing patch, and I'm like, this is the coolest. I have never seen anything this cool. This is the coolest shit I ever seen, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, Ahmed, Robin's waiting for you at the main house, right? So I drive up to the main house, which is this huge Victorian mansion, right? Vineyard, Skywalker Sound. Skywalker Ranch is gorgeous, right? Beautiful, beautiful, like animals and shit. I drive up to the main house. Robin meets me at the front door, and I'm trying not to freak out. Like, I'm really trying to, like, be like, oh, yeah, I'm cool. Here for an audition. I'm trying to be chill. Right? I walk in the main house, and she was like, yo, okay, follow me down to my office. Her office was in the basement of the main house, right? As we're walking through to her office, there are these cases, and it has all original movie paraphernalia from the movies George did. So I'm walking past, and there's the Indiana Jones hat and the whip, right? Wow. Next is Obi-Wan's original lightsaber, Luke's original lightsaber in the case. And you know, Star Wars A New Hope was the first movie I ever saw in my life. Very fun.
Wow.
So I always loved it, and I grew up with it. And my mom, you know, we grew up, we didn't have very much, but my mom could sew, right? So we went to the fabric store one time, and my mom bought all of this like fabric with Star Wars shit all over it. And she made curtains, sheets, pillows, pajamas for all of us, right? For me, my brother, my sister. So we loved it. We loved it. And here I am, you know, damn near 19, 20 years later, walking through Skywalker Ranch. And I'm like, what is going on right now, right? Get in the basement. Robin is just like, okay, I want you to audition for this part, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what you're doing. I can't tell you what you look like, and I can't give you any of the script. And I was like, okay. So are we just gonna like have coffee? Like, what are we gonna do here? You know?
He's like, well, great meeting, thank you.
Well, that was a good time. I hope I impressed you with my nothing. You know? So
how do you even begin to audition for that, or prepare, or decide if you want to do it?
Exactly. Like, I had no idea of anything, and then she was just like, yeah, I can't tell you anything. Here's what I'd like you to do. So she put me through these paces, right? She was like, can you get really low to the ground like a salamander? All right, can you walk like really loose? All right, can you do like all of the options that eventually I found out George and everybody were talking about for Jar Jar, but had not made a decision on because they didn't believe or they didn't know yet whether this new technology was going to work or whether they needed an actor or not. Like, everything was up in the air.
Well, because you were essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were the prototype actor for modern day motion capture. I think
yes.
Andy Serkis probably gets a lot of credit because there's a certain because of Lord of the Rings and all these things. Yeah. But you were the originator, and they were perfecting how to do what has become so commonplace during the course of those episodes. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, CG software was being written real time as I was moving, right? And that code that they created in 1996, 1997 is still the foundation of the code that they use today. And all of that was written based on my movement. So every CG thing that you see is based off of me. Like I'm baseline for everybody, and then they go from there. And Andy Serkis is such a brilliant artist that he was the one who really increased the vocabulary of what could be done, right? I was very much the prototype for everything because there was always questions, right? And this is the thing that I loved about being Jar Jar. It was such a collaborative effort, right? And just in the original true film sense of the word, right? Film is a collaborative medium. You cannot do film by yourself. So when we were creating Jar Jar, we were all involved. It was George, it was me, it was John Knoll, Rob Coleman, ILM, Lucas Animation, like all of these people came together to do this thing that was an idea that George had in mind. And they had been looking for the right human being to kind of archetype this thing, right?
And it was you.
And it was me, ironically enough. So after the audition, she was like, okay, cool. Did a tour of the ranch, which was crazy, mind-blowing. And then I went back on tour. And then 2 weeks later, no, it was like a month later, I get a call. And it was like, can you come back to ILM to do a screen test? And I was like, this is my first movie, my first screen test, my first anything, right? I'd never done a screen test before. So I didn't know what to expect and I didn't know what to do. And my first screen test was the first time anyone in the world and in history ever tried to do motion capture for a screen test.
A black man.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So everybody, based on that screen test, the screen test was the barometer for whether or not this would work in movies. That was my screen test. After my screen test, everybody knows that this will work. And so it becomes a film technique. You know, it becomes a thing that people in movies do. But before my screen test, it was just like, it'll never work, right? But the screen test was hilarious because anybody who ever does mocap knows you are in a very like revealing outfit.
Yeah, it's like a full body, almost like a skin suit, like a wetsuit type thing,
Yeah,
right? Or I don't know what it was when you were doing it.
It's a cat suit, right? It's a cat suit. And everything is there for all to experience. So
you saw your nuts.
Yeah, everybody saw my nuts. And then some. So I had no idea that I had to be in this very nut-esque, this very nut-esque outfit. And it had all of these like ping pong balls on it, right? So the infrared cameras can catch the movement.
Got it.
They were like, put me in a room and said, put this on. And I was like, shit. Okay. And I put this cat suit on, right? I had like a headband with the balls on it, gloves with the balls on it and shit. And then they gave me these 6-inch platform Converse All-Stars, right? Because Jar Jar's taller than me.
Got it. And they got to match the
eye line, right?
You're doing a movie.
Right? So to see if this will work, especially if it'll work to scale. Word? So I thought it was just going to be me and the engineers, right? And, you know, that was back in the day where computers were machines. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, them joints was like 10 feet thick, right? No flat
size
screen.
Of cabinets and shit.
It was huge, right? So I'm in this room with all of these machines and all these dorky guys looking at screens and these infrared cameras around me. And then they go, okay, George will be here in a minute. And I'm like, George who?
Because you hadn't met George Lucas yet.
I hadn't met him yet. The first time I was going to meet George Lucas, my balls are everywhere. So, like, what? Oh my God! Like, we couldn't warm up to this. Like,
How cold was the studio at the
it was
time?
freezing. You know, computers need to be cold. So I was like, oh Jesus, so embarrassing, right? But I can't like be like, look, y'all, this motherfucker embarrassing. Yeah, I'm like, I really want to do this. Like, I really want this gig, you know? So I was like, whatever. And so George walks in, and you know, he's on brand. He's got the flannel joint, the beard, the coif, you know what I'm saying? Jeans. He's kind of just like, hey, you know, it's good to meet you. You know, he's on brand George Lucas. The glasses, the horn rim joints. So George comes in and like takes a look at everything and he goes, oh, okay, right? Then again, can't tell you what you're doing. Can't give you a script. Can't tell you what you look like. Can't tell you anything about this. So George is just going to direct you and you just do what he says, right? So I was like, all right, bet. So he was just like, okay, just do what you did with Robin. So I started walking like really low to the ground, right? And so I do a martial art called capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art, right? And it's a lot of spins, a lot of kicks, and it's close to the ground, right? So I was doing a lot of like capoeira moves, and he was like, all right, let's switch it up. Can you just like stand up and just kind of walk like really loping with your arms swinging and you know, walk a lot slower, a lot longer. And I was like, yeah, okay. Nice. So I did that. And he was like, okay, so you see something on the ground, you pick it up, you want to eat it, you look at it, then there's somebody coming at you, you jump and say, oh no, and then, you know, you get hit by something, right? And this ends up being my first scene in the movie with Qui-Gon, right? So he's like directing me through the first Qui-Gon scene. And then he goes, all right, cool. Now, you know, do whatever you want. And I was like, oh shit. Now, if I can do whatever I want, I'm about to turn this bitch out, right? So I was like, work. I was doing it. Stop, you know? I went off. I started doing backflips and like spin kicks and cartwheels, you know, because Jar Jar was supposed to be like super physical. So I was like, I'm going to do everything physical that I know. But I was wearing these 6-inch platforms, right? So I was doing like all of this stuff and I was doing backflips and stuff with like these 6-inch platforms on. And I don't wear heels and shit. I don't know how to do this shit. But I was like figuring it out. I was like, all right. And he goes, okay, thanks. And leaves. And then I thought, oh shit, I blew it. You know what I'm saying? Like I did too much. I was like doing the most. Maybe I should have kept that, you know, in the balls. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing the most. Go back on tour, and I'm thinking about it the whole time. You know, we going to DC, and then, you know, we end up in Philly. So I'm in Philly, and I'm just like, shit, I blew that Star Wars shit. Oh well, whoever they're gonna get, they're gonna get. Right? In Philly, I get the phone call. We'd like you to be in Star Wars this summer. And I was like, what? I was like, holy shit.
I was going to do the theme, but I can't remember it.
I got you. It was a trap. It's a trap. So the next thing I know, I'm on a plane to England and I'm doing Star Wars. And it was just absolutely insane, like the whole experience. And then the Michael Jackson incident happened, which this happened later.
The Michael Jackson incident?
Yes, I had a moment with Michael Jackson.
What?
And it was weird. So
tell me the story. Fuck, how many stories? I don't even know how much time we got. Okay, so look, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, go. Tell the story.
Okay, so if we get cut off, I'll come back.
Okay.
And Jedi Temple Challenge. So
of course, that's why we're here. Jedi Temple Challenge, Jedi Temple Challenge, Jedi Temple Challenge.
Jedi Temple Challenge, tomorrow Star Wars Kids YouTube, Jedi Temple Challenge, Kelleran Beq, the favorite hand. So, Michael Jackson came to London to do his concert, right?
I love
and George did Captain EO. Remember Captain EO at Epcot?
I loved Captain EO. I saw that shit like 1,000,001 times. The steam would come out and shit like that, and he was on the ship and all of that. That was George Lucas. I love Captain EO,
so
man.
George did Captain EO at Epcot. And so him and Michael Jackson were tight. And Michael knew that we were shooting in England. So he called George up and was just like, hey, do you want tickets to the show? And so we're working, and George comes up to me and he goes, hey, Ahmed, do you want to go see Michael Jackson tonight? And I was like, Michael Jackson? I'm a Michael Jackson fanatic. I love Michael Jackson, right? So I was like, hell yeah, I want to go see Michael Jackson. And so he invited Natalie Portman, me, and his kids, right? So it was me, Nat, George's kids, George, right? And Michael Jackson got us tickets for the Royal Box at Wembley Arena, right? So we're escorted up to the Royal Box by this weird, like, handler guy, a British handler, right? Escorts us up to the box. We get in the box. We're watching the concert. Michael Jackson is killing, right? He's destroying. 80,000 people. I'm losing my mind. Me and Natalie's a big Michael Jackson fan. We're just like, this is the best. We grooving. We just like, beat it, beat it, beat it. You know? Best time, right? Billie Jean ain't your motherfucker. Right? So.
Classic lines, classic lyrics.
10 minutes before the show ends, there's a wall, like right where we're sitting. Weird handler dude shows up behind the wall, like, would you guys follow me? George, like, doesn't react. He's like, okay. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on? Right? Somebody just comes up on my back. I'm from New York. I'm like, yo, man,
hey,
back up, son.
My mother moved too quick around me. I'm not gonna do it.
What you talking about, man? I got 7 senses up in this bitch. I'm gonna smack the shit at you, right? He comes up. Would you guys follow me? We walk through the wall. There's a secret stairway behind the Royal Box. So we're walking through the secret stairway behind the Royal Box at Wembley. And when we come back out to civilization, we're backstage, right? So we're backstage at Wembley. There's people passed out on gurneys who are just like, oh, Michael Jackson, Jesus, right? And so they're on gurneys, like full on the movies. People got crushed or got too excited and fainted, right? There's like the triage of Michael Jackson fainters that we watch.
Every Michael Jackson concert has just a triage.
Has a triage area, right? They're just like, look, Michael Jackson coming to town. We need a triage. Okay? So walk through triage, and we end up backstage. And we're backstage, and I'm just like, it was one of those like, what's going on, right? So I turn around, and I see Catherine, Michael Jackson's mom, walking with like a bunch of kids. And I see these kids walking behind Catherine. I'm just like, what is this? What's weird? Weird handler guy comes up, and he goes, points to this weird, like, curtained off area. And he goes, right? I don't even know if he says anything. He just goes, with breath. And then we walk through this curtained area, and there's Michael Jackson putting on a shirt. Now, there is this rumor going around that Michael Jackson is bleaching his skin because he doesn't like to be black. At the same time, there's a rumor going around that Michael Jackson has a skin disease called vitiligo, which is when your melanin recedes and you have these patches, right? Mm-hmm. For some reason, when I walked through the curtain, I was like, I'm going to find out the truth. I want to know. I wanted to know if this shit is real or if this motherfucker hurts himself, right? Of all the things to go through my brain,
So
I'm gonna find out the truth about Michael Jackson's skin conditions, right?
I'm so scared and excited. Which is how everyone must feel around Michael Jackson. Please continue.
I'm gonna find out the truth. I walk through the thing, right? And I'm looking at Michael Jackson's face. He doesn't talk. He's like, and I'm looking at his skin, right? And then at the tip of his fingers, I see brown patches, right? On his left hand. I see all these like little brown patches. And I'm like, it's the vitiligo. The vitiligo story is true, right? As he's walking in, he's like wrapping his fingers with tape. He's covering up the brown spots, right? And it's just like real small. And I don't know why. I was just like, so it was like, focus. And I saw it like right on his fingers. And I was like, oh snap, like the vitiligo shit is real. Like he has vitiligo, right? And then when I took the zoom back, I was like, it makes perfect sense. The glove, the tape, the thing, the skin.
Wow.
Like, I mean, of course he was severely body dysmorphic because of all the surgery, but
for sure,
the vitiligo was real. It was true. I saw the patches, right? And I was just like, oh my God. He reached out his hand to shake my hand, and I was like, kind of like looking at his hand, and that's when I saw the patches. And then he was just like, motion, and then that weird handler guy comes out, all right? This isn't even the weird part of the story. Jesus Christ. The weird handler comes out, we leave, right? Michael goes on stage, boom, and I'm backstage, and this is when I was like, acting, music, I don't know, right? I'm backstage, and I'm watching Michael Jackson have 80,000 people eating out the palm of his hand. He was masterful, like absolutely masterful as an entertainer. Incredible, right? 80,000, and Michael Jackson's not a big dude, like 5'10", but 80,000 people, he's running across the stage, right? I'm grooving. He does Heal the World, Make It a Better Place, right? He's doing Heal the World. All these children come out, they holding hands for you and for me and the entire human race. This globe drops down from the fucking top of the theater. People dying. We're all fucking care enough for the tears and shit. Make a better place for you, Jesus Christ, right? So all of this beautiful shit is happening, right? Michael Jackson and like a group of kids descends down into the stage and they disappear. Top of the theater, people dying. We're all fucking care enough for the tears and shit. Make a better place for you, Jesus Christ, right? So all of this beautiful shit is happening, right? Michael Jackson and like a group of kids descends down into the stage and they disappear, right? This weird, like skinny roadie dude is kind of like grooving to like not the music that's playing. And he's just like, you might want to stand back. And I was like, He's like, yeah, you might want to stand back. And he just goes, and rakes across these pyrotechnics and beesh bosh, like freaking lightning, Thor, fucking fireworks go off. It gets mad hot flames and shit. Show's over. That was amazing. I can go home and tell my children I had the best experience watching Michael Jackson. Looking at Nat is like, wow, that was cool. Weird handler guy shows up again, whoosh, out of nowhere. Michael would like to say hello, right? Weird handler guy takes us down to a driveway right outside of Wembley. In the driveway, remember them bubble Toyota minivans back in the day? Mm-hmm, it looked like, something out of a, Japanese anime joint. There was a fleet of these bubble Toyota minivans in a driveway. Michael Jackson pops out of one of the minivans wearing the fedora, the very prescient mask that we're all wearing right now.
He was way ahead of the time.
Mad ahead of the curve. Wearing a mask, the captain shit, right, on the epaulets. He's fucking booted.
Gotta have the epaulets and the mask.
The epaulets.
He's dressing how we dress now.
Absolutely. Right? Clean. Michael'd up. in the van is Lisa Marie Presley, who they had recently just gotten divorced, but she was in the truck,
She's still
and
fucking.
about maybe 15 kids. I'm not judging. So Lisa Marie in the truck, kids in the truck. Michael pops out the truck. Lisa Marie looks at me and goes like this. And I was like, did Lisa Marie just give me the what's up just now? Like, did she give me the
what's good?
Did she give me a what's really good right now? She hit me with the what's really good.
It's really good.
I was like,
Just I ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Is she trying to holler? I was like, I don't know what to do. So I did that weird, like when a girl hits on you, the weird look away. So I was like, just awkward. I just did the weird, awkward look away.
You looking for pennies and shit?
Oh, look. What am I supposed to do? Get in the truck with the kids and Lisa? Like, what the fuck? Is it gonna be a weird night? So
I mean, yes.
So, right? Gonna get weirder. So Michael gets out the truck, shakes our hands. We freaking out. Me and Nat freaking out. I'm like, man, Michael Jackson, what an amazing show. You had everybody eating the palm of your hands, right? He was like, oh, thank you. Thanks for coming to my show. And he knew George's kids to stay with Little, right? He was like, oh, good to see you, good to see you. And so George goes, this is Natalie Portman. And he goes, yeah, I love your stuff. I like your movie. And this is Jar Jar Binks, Ahmed Best. And Michael Jackson goes, oh, like a dude. Like, he's not like, oh. He goes, oh. And I was like, whoa, that was weird.
He was gonna is this gonna be he wanted to be Jar Jar Binks, didn't he?
He did. So Michael goes, oh. He drives away with Lisa Marie in the trucks and the children. Right? We go up to the bar and have a drink. And I go, hey, George, why did you introduce me as Jar Jar Binks? And he goes, well, Michael wanted to be Jar Jar. And he wanted to do it with prosthetics. But I wanted to do it with this CGI thing. And he was like, it would have just been a distraction if Michael was Jar Jar. Everybody would be like on set paying attention to Michael Jackson and not really thinking about the movie. So, yeah. And I was like, and you told him now with me there? Like, this couldn't have been a phone call? You couldn't have said this before, like, we got to Wembley and I met him and I was like, I lived with Michael Jackson from the Jackson 5. I watched the cartoons and all that shit. You had to do this now with me I fucking love Michael Jackson. Now he thinks I'm a dick. Like, what the fuck?
Yo, I love
Jackson.
I love the idea that you and Michael Jackson have beef.
Yo!
Because you're probably one of the few people to beat out Michael Jackson for anything.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, he's trying to tell me. But
his brothers couldn't even get lead, and he was the youngest.
But then George was just like, well, yeah, a lot of people wanted to do it. He said Robin Williams wanted to do it. Eddie Murphy petitioned to do it. And I was like, get out of here. You chose me? And he was like, yeah, you were just the best guy for the job.
Damn.
And I was like, wow, now I really can't fuck up. Because Michael be like, I know it, motherfucker. I want this job, Mike. I want it. I want to kill that shit. I'm gonna kill that shit.
Okay, wow. This is amazing. I could ask you a million different questions. Where did the voice come from? Do you think Michael Jackson would have came?
He would have came with another voice. Honestly, I wasn't cast as the voice first, and George didn't know that I did voiceovers. So I gave him like 6 different voices for Jar Jar, and that was the one he picked because that voice, kids resonated with that voice the most. And Jar Jar was a kid's character. He was just like, I'm really pointing this at children. I want kids to love them. So, you know, the more kid-like, the more youthful, the more innocent, the better. So that was the voice he liked. And, you know, this is another bit I do in the one-man show, but, you know, the first table read. Go ahead.
What is the name of your one-man show, by the way?
It's called Uninfamous. And it's a one-man show about this time period between 97 and 99 with Star Wars, me getting the gig, and the backlash, what happened afterwards, and how I went through just a very severe depression afterwards because of the backlash and my way out of it, right? So it's a love story. No, it's just a really successful, very honest, and I'm actually terrified of it because I've never really been this honest on stage before when it comes to my shit. I can tell anybody else's story on stage and be fine, but talking about myself is the worst. But you know, Frank Oz is helping me with the show, and he really helped me like get it out. So I'm working on this. I'm working on a one-man show on Infamous, and I was supposed to be in Edinburgh in August, but the coronas stopped.
Yeah.
No Edinburgh Festival.
Well, here's why I'm so glad you came and you talked about this, because I think it's important to realize how far you've come, how much growth you've had, and how much people understand how success can reach pitfalls, and how with enough strength, courage, and love, you can come out of that, even when you have that vulnerability in front of others. You know what I mean? Because you have reached these great heights and what felt like this huge backlash, and have all these amazing things going for you. The way I know you, I first met you was as a fight choreographer.
Yeah.
I think you were on your 10th Ovation Award, and I may be underselling. How many Ovation Awards do you have for choreography? You have five.
Yeah, I think.
You've directed me in The Tragedy at Ammo Theater, done fight choreography for that show, for a bunch of Ammo work, including fight choreography for my music video.
Yeah.
Bender, you are actually, I play this clip all the time. Yeah. And it's your hand hitting me because you were the only person I could trust to hit me in the head with a bottle. Talk to me about what it means. And we're going back to one of the reasons I had you here in the first place. Talk to me about what it means because since Jar Jar, you then became Ahmed Beq.
Yeah,
right?
Ahmed Beq.
Which is, give me a brief description of that character.
So Ahmed Beq showed up in the bar scene in Attack of the Clones, and he was a pilot. He's a pilot during the Old Republic. This is when Star Wars is kind of it's centered around a couple of different time periods. The prequels are the Old Republic. That's when the civilization in the galaxy was at its height. It had these beautiful cities, and there was at peace, and there was no empire, right? And then the Senator Palpatine comes in, who is really a Sith Lord and destroys everything, and it's Jar Jar who gives him supreme power in Attack of the Clones, and that's when the Empire starts, right? And then Revenge of the Sith is really, at the end of the Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith happens, and then we're full on Empire, Darth Vader, and then we get to A New Hope, which is the Empire world. So Ahmed Beq is a pilot in the Old Republic in Coruscant, and that happened because of Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO, right? On my day off, Anthony Daniels was like, "Come on, we're going to be in the movie," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he gives me a uniform, and he's like, "Wear that, show up tomorrow." And so I was like, "What? Tomorrow's my day off," and he was like, "Come on, you're going to get a cameo. Let's go." And so I show up, I put this thing on, and at first I wanted like a mohawk and a crazy. I wanted to look gnarly. But I just ended up with this like huge like blaster scar because I love the idea. I've had a scar on my chin since I was 6 years old. I have this I had a really bad accident when I was 6, and it left me with a scar on my face. So like facial scars are always like a big deal for me because I've had to live with one for most of my life. So, a lot of times I try to run away from it. Right now I got a beard over it, but I really like this idea of like scarring your face
Yeah.
because it tells a story, right? Every
It tells
time,
an all. It tells.
yeah,
Yeah.
and people go, oh, what's that? And that's where I live. Like I love things that make you go, whoa, what was that? Well, like what's
I
the
love
reason?
I love my boy Tommy has an eye patch,
Hmm.
and I put him in a couple of my music videos, and he was worried about it, and I said why? I was like, that's what you look like. That's beautiful. We're putting
Yeah,
you in here. You're in our world. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, we should represent. We shouldn't have to
that's
hide
right.
these things. So it's amazing. That's my tangent.
Yeah. I mean, so I got the eye scar, right? So that day they were scanning people for toys and they were just like, hey, Ahmed, you want to get scanned? And I was like, yeah, sure. So they scanned me, right? And then I get the cameo in Attack of the Clones. Like George set up a cameo for me and for Anthony Daniels, right? So we're both in that bar scene. And then the toy comes out, like the doll comes out. And if you know anything about Star Wars, like everything is archived, right? There's so much information. Everything is archived, everything is photographed, and even the most obscure characters get an action figure, right? So I had this action figure was made and sold, and they called it Ahmed Beq, and I had no idea, right?
Oh wow.
So they send me this action figure, and I'm just like, oh shit, look at this, Ahmed Beq, and I always loved it because it was just this obscure Attack of the Clones character, right? So Jar Jar, Ahmed Beq, and now Kelleran Beq is my third different Star Wars character in the Star Wars universe.
Now
And
you're the only person to play three different people in the Star Wars universe.
yes, I am the only person to play three different people, and I am the first black lead of anything Star Wars, which I'm really proud of, especially nowadays,
Yeah.
where
It's
representation matters so much.
yeah, and in truth, it always mattered, right?
Yeah.
And what's great is, so tell me how this happened, right? All of this leads to what I want to speak about right now, which is Jedi Temple Challenge,
Yeah.
right? Which is essentially a sort of kids competition adventure show with Star Wars themed, headed
Yes.
by you, Master Beq. And I think this is an amazing journey to go from Jar Jar to Master,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just an incredible, like, how fulfilling is this for you? And what did you put into this show? And what did you want to see come out of this show?
Yeah. And I saw somebody said Warwick Davis played more than three. That's correct. I believe Warwick played Wicked. I think Warwick Davis only played three. I think me and Warwick played three. But sorry. So Jedi Temple Challenge. So as I was doing the one man show and I was working on that, and I came out with the story that happened with me on the Brooklyn Bridge, um, because of the backlash. That was kind of the beginning of me really coming to terms with myself and how I honestly felt about being a part of this. I had a lot of anger and a lot of animosity for not being recognized for the work that I was doing. And, not, and these stories are coming out now, more and more about being black and being in Hollywood and being viable, right? So even with all that I had done, I couldn't get an agent and I couldn't get a manager, right? I still honestly don't have an agent or a manager for legit
Which is
shit.
insane. Which is insane to me because you're one of the strongest actors I know. I had you in my show where you play. I had you in Brain Problems where you played. Brandon played Malcolm. I had a character there named Malcolm, this sort of meta crazy character, and then you played him, and you fucking destroyed and killed it. And you're a myriad artist, but anyway, go on.
Yeah, I mean,
Fuck the man. Go on.
yeah, but the thing about being black in Hollywood is a lot of times, um, because there isn't as much material for us, agents and managers don't want to really have to hustle the way they have to hustle for black artists, right? And here I am, who is a 100% like other when it comes to my work, because my work is very unconventional as much as it is pivotal and as much as it is historical. Like agents or managers today will just be like, I don't know what to do with that. Can you play a gangster? You know what I'm saying? And it's in the
Because they're behind the curve.
yeah, and the ghettoization of what black maledom is in Hollywood is pervasive in almost everything. So I was frustrated because I wanted to continue doing the work that I did with Jar Jar, right? And Andy Serkis was continuing with the work that I did as Jar Jar. And I was just hurt by that. And it's not because of anything that has to do with Andy Serkis, because he's fucking brilliant, right? I just thought that there was room for all of us, you know? And also he just got the nod, he got the look, he got the recognition. And I wanted that. I wanted the nod and I wanted the look and I wanted the recognition. So, you know, when I showed up in these rooms, they were just like, what do we do with you? You know, what's the matter with you? So it really hurt that the work wasn't being recognized for as dynamic and as pivotal as it is, you know, and as it was. So it really hit me kind of hard, and I didn't want anything to do with Star Wars anymore. You know, I wanted to just move past it, have it be something in the past. I didn't put up any pictures. I didn't put up any posters. I just didn't want to be, I didn't even want to watch the movies. Like, it was just painful. All I could think about was the pain. I didn't want to deal with that. But then I put my story out on Twitter, right? And the reaction that I got from the fans who love Jar Jar was really surprising to me. Really surprising. And I didn't expect it. I didn't. I honestly thought, you know, a lot of times, like, we're in this bubble where you don't think that anybody really gives a shit about your story. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, all right, I put this shit out. And you know, it's an artist thing. You're just like, is it good? Does it suck? I don't know. Is anybody going to like it? Like, I think everybody who really cares about their work, they go through this, you know, and putting out anything is so scary and risky. And, you know, you're just naked out there. You're just putting all your shit out there, you know, which is one of the reasons why I love Brain Problems so much. You know, I love being in Brain Problems so much because you were talking about shit that, you know, a lot of the powers that be in this town don't think we talk about. You know, For us, it's like, yeah, of course we talk about this shit. Like, we talk about it all the time.
Mental health.
Right. Mental health. Black people in mental health. You know, we go see therapists. We need help, you know. But especially as a Black man, you know, there's this idea, and we have it too, I think. You know, I definitely had it. There's this idea as a Black man that you can handle everything. You know, there's an idea, especially being from New York, especially being from the neighborhoods that we're from, you know, I would say this shit, and this is, you know, to this day, when I hear myself say it, it makes me sad. I would say, man, I'm a Black man over 25. I'm not even supposed to be here, let alone, like, deal with reviews. Like, reviews can't fucking hurt me. That's a terrible thing to say.
I talk about this. Well, I thought I was going to die at 18. Even when I was 19,
Yeah,
you know, it took me years to get out of the mindset of believing that I was supposed to die, but before I became a man.
Yeah, and that's awful. That's a terrible thing to have to live with. It's a terrible thing to say, even as a joke. Like, I would joke like that, and people be like, "Yeah, you're right." I'm like, "No, that's terrible." You know what I'm saying?
It's horrible because a lot of it's gallows humor. You know what I mean? It's a horrible thing. So you do the best you can. You try and create laughter and joy and go like, I have to make fun of this.
Yeah.
You know,
I have to laugh at this or else I'll be crying all day.
And that is what I've been switching between every day for a while now.
It's real. That's real.
You need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you